Hello and welcome to Berry Aftercare. I'm Dr. Connie Stapleton. I hope we've met before, and if not, thank you for joining me today. Whether you're listening on the podcast called Berry Aftercare or you're participating in the full Berry Aftercare program, I welcome you. And if you're not participating in the full Berry Aftercare program, you can learn more about that by visiting www.berryaftercare.com. Well, I'm glad to be with you today, and I want to step back to our last podcast where we talked about a list of the gotta do'ems that are less behavioral but more emotional. And this list is combined by a group of researchers, and I will include in the podcast notes who the researchers were and where you can find the entire article if you're interested. But they came up with a list of predictors for successful weight maintenance. And I love this. And I remind patients when they're getting ready to have surgery that if their goal is to lose weight, then they might want to consider changing that goal. Because if your goal is to lose weight, well, let's think about the past. Have you lost weight before? Well, most people who are getting ready for surgery have lost weight before. And then when they lose the weight, the game's over, right? They've met their goal or they've lost a certain amount of weight and then they regain it. We don't want that. Weight loss surgery is about much more than losing the weight. You want to get this weight off and keep the weight off. So I really encourage people to change in their mind, having their goal be maintaining a healthy weight for the rest of my life. So that's just one point I wanted to throw in there. But today we're going to go through that list. Well, not just today. Today we're going to go through one of the items on that list of predictors for successful weight maintenance. I listed them all last time. I will list them all again today, but we're going to go through these in the next several weeks, talking about each one individually. Because if you don't have this list of predictors, if you're not working on these items, or if you have no idea what these even mean, then this is something you might want to start looking into, because this is how you keep the weight off, in addition to, of course, the behavior modifications. You all know what the behavior modifications are because you've done weight loss programs before, and every weight loss program talks about the behavior modifications. I refer to those as the gotta do-ems. Making healthy food choices on a consistent basis, sticking to healthy portion sizes, drinking your water, taking your vitamins, making sure you exercise, keeping a journal of your exercise and your food, those kinds of things. You know what those are. And yes, doing those is going to help you considerably when it comes to getting that weight off and keeping it off. But in addition to the behavioral gotta do'ems, there's a list of items that are great predictors for keeping that weight off. And we've talked about them before. And a lot of people regain. If you don't know that and you're headed into surgery, you need to know that and use that as motivation, which we're going to be talking about today. Use that as motivation to really get started on these items, the behavioral and the emotional, as you prepare. Because in order to keep that weight off, you're going to need both. So we're going to talk about these predictors for successful weight maintenance so that you can keep your weight off. So in the last podcast, I listed these, and I'll go through them real quickly. These predictors include internal motivation to lose weight, social support, coping strategies, ability to handle life stress, self-efficacy, which basically means I think I can, which is difficult for people when you think about it, because in the past they've lost weight, but they've regained it, lost weight, but regained it. So for some people, it's hard to think, I can. Anyway, autonomy, meaning I'm going to do this for myself and by myself if necessary. I will do this, which goes along with assuming responsibility in life and having overall psychological strength and stability. So again, I will list the source of that in the podcast notes. But I want to talk about these one at a time because people don't necessarily understand some of the terminology. And when you hear internal motivation, you're like, yeah, 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 I'm motivated. I told you during the pre surgery evaluation, I'm motivated. I told you, I promised to do that. Well, there's a little bit more to understanding what internal motivation means just than spouting the words. So we're going to begin with the first one, internal motivation to lose weight. And this can't be confused with just plain old motivation, right? The kind when you did your pre surgical evaluation with the doctor, with the nutritionist, with the psychologist, and you said, I am really motivated this time. My guess is that you were really motivated when you started Weight Watchers, and you were really motivated when you started keto, and you were really motivated when you did the 1,000 other programs that you started. Most people are really motivated at the beginning of a process, and the reason they're motivated because they see results, and that is good motivation, right? But what happens when you hit a plateau? Or what happens when the weight loss becomes slower and slower and slower? People get discouraged. And I hear words like, I just need to get motivated. I need to find that motivation. As if they're waiting for motivation to descend from the heavens and seep into their brain and their body through their pores, which will never happen. So, internal motivation is about a whole lot more than getting excited because you're seeing results. When you quit seeing results, what happens? Where do you get the motivation then? I'm going to tell you about a story that a woman told me years ago. I wrote a book for the Weight Loss Surgery Foundation of America, and the book was a compilation of people's stories, their individual stories through the journey. And where they've been since they've lost the weight. And this woman titled her journey When the Lights Went Out in the Stadium. And this really summarizes this idea of external versus internal motivation, which I'll describe in more detail in just a minute. But she said that when she was losing the weight after weight loss surgery, for the first couple of years, it was like she was a celebrity every single day because she would go to work and people would just gush. What are you doing? Oh my gosh, you look so great. And that outfit looks so wonderful on you. Oh my gosh, I love seeing you dressing in these beautiful colors and your confidence is amazing. Gosh, 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 gosh. So everywhere she went for the first couple of years, there was this external coming from outside of her motivation. And then her weight plateaued like it will, because it has to. You can't just keep losing weight forever. So her weight plateaued and she became one of the people, just one of the everyday ordinary people in the office. And she said to her, when people quit commenting and making a fuss, it felt to her like being in a huge arena at a concert or a sporting event, and the lights go out after the performance. And it was silent and still and dark. And that really bothered her. What she learned from that was she was motivated from the outside, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But she got a lot of motivation to continue doing the behaviors because she was being fed by all of this affirmation from outside of herself. And that is a great and wonderful thing, except that when that all died down, as it will, she felt lost and she hadn't discovered an internal sense of motivation, something that drove her to continue with the behaviors from the inside. And that is why internal motivation is critical for ongoing weight maintenance. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between internal and external motivation. But before I do that, I want to remind you guys that during the pre-surgical evaluations, and I do, let's see, at least 20 a week for the last probably 10 years, and I did them before that, but not as many. I've done thousands. So based on, sorry, there's an airplane flying overhead. I hope it's not taking up too much noise here. But when I talk to people during these pre-surgical evaluations and I ask them their reasons for wanting to lose weight, and I'll pause here for just a minute, and I want you to think about what are the top reasons you give for wanting to lose weight? What are your whys? I want to do this because. Well, most people tell me things like, I want to get off a lot of these medications. I want to improve my health. I want to have better mobility. I want to be able to keep up with my kids, my grandkids. I want to go on the rides. I want to travel easier. I want to be able to travel more comfortably. I want to get in an airplane and not use an extender. I want to do things I'm not able to do at this weight. I want to have a baby. Some people have weight loss surgery so they lose enough weight to be able to have a knee surgery or some other kind of surgery. But the two things that I hear most consistently is that I want improved health and a better quality of life. So it's interesting what happens once a person does that. And I'm going to give you an example, and this could not have been any better timing. Last night, I was working with a patient group, and we were talking about making progress and living a healthy lifestyle and the lifestyle being the most important thing. And we talked about this for over an hour. Lifestyle meaning being at a healthy weight, getting off a lot of the medications, if not all of them, preventing comorbidities, and being able to do things that you wanted to do. So after an hour of discussion about this is the goal, these are the real goals, a woman says, and this happens all the time, well, I just really am puzzled and stuck and concerned because I have this last 30 pounds to get down to reach my goal weight. I've lost 130 pounds, but oh, I have this stubborn 30 pounds and I wanted to pull my hair out. And I said to her, okay, so let me ask you this. What were the reasons you wanted to have weight loss surgery? And she told me she was on a lot of medications. She wanted a healthier life. She wanted to be around longer for her grandchildren. She wanted to travel with her grandchildren. She wanted to be more active in their lives, better quality of life. So I said to her, you just lost 130 pounds, right? Yes, that's correct. Are you healthier? Oh, yeah, I'm off all my meds. And how's that quality of life? You engaging more actively with your grandkids? Oh, yeah, we have the best time. And she went on. And I said, that it sounds to me like you've achieved your goals, like you have accomplished what you set out to accomplish. And yet you're focused and obsessing on these 30 pounds. What is that about for you? Well, well, I wanna, I wanna, and this was a woman in her mid to late 60s, I'm guessing, said, I want to get to a point where I was last when I was in college. And I'm like, why? What is that going to mean to you? Is that going to make you any healthier? Is that going to give you a better quality of life when you said you've already achieved that? Well, no. Then why are you obsessed? And that was her word about losing this additional weight. And that's what happens. So people come into this process saying they want better health and an improved quality of life. And once they're there, then the story changes. And it becomes, I want to wear this size. I want to shop at that store. I want to look good for, the other people. I want to say I've been able to do this. There's nothing wrong with those things. So don't hear what I'm not saying. Those are all good and wonderful. However, a goal weight doesn't make you any more valuable a human being. If you're healthy and you are at a place where you can enjoy the things in your life you want to enjoy, then you have succeeded. You are a success. And it saddens me to the core when people get hung up on a number that's irrelevant. That at 60 some years old, you want to be the weight you were in college. Because why? It's not going to make any bit of difference. So as people say they're motivated for these really good reasons, except when they get to that place where they're there, it's no longer good enough. And that is a concern to me, right? Because it dilutes what your motivation was. And then people get discouraged because they forget that they've already achieved what they set out to achieve. And I'm not saying don't shoot for a goal weight, although really that is something that makes me absolutely crazy because it's irrelevant. But enough on that for today. What I want to talk about today is even though you come into the process saying these certain things, you might want to reevaluate that when you've gotten to the place where you are healthier and you are living the quality of life you've always wanted. Because if you're still obsessing about the number and the scale and the then you've got some work to do in here because that's not healthy thinking, right? If you're living a healthy life and you're off your medications, you are living a healthy life. So staying obsessed about a number is a different issue. It's a mental health issue. It's an emotional issue. So back to motivation. If your motivation is to live this healthy life at a healthy weight for your body, and you're already doing that, does that remain your motivation? Those are fantastic, great internal motivation. I want to live this lifestyle of healthy eating, eating healthy portions, eating healthy foods, exercising, because I love the life. I love being healthy. I love doing the things. I love feeling good. That's internal motivation. But when people get to that place and all of a sudden that's not good enough, I'm concerned that they have either forgotten or that wasn't the real reason to begin with. So let's talk about, we'll come back to that, the difference between internal and external motivation and how they can both be combined in the weight loss journey. But internal motivation has got to be strong in order to maintain weight loss. And you'll understand why, I think, when we talk about the difference. So, extrinsic or external motivation is simply that it's motivation that comes from the outside. And it's good for short term goals, but it's not going to keep that weight off by itself in the long term. That is why a predictor for successful weight maintenance is internal motivation. So, external motivation is used at times when, if you say, okay, and you've probably done some of these, if not all of them, I want to lose weight for the class reunion. I've got 20 pounds I want to lose, get off before the class reunion because I want to be looking good when I go. I want people to say, she's looking great or he's looking great. That's an external motivation. The class reunion is the motivator to lose this 15, 20 pounds. The class reunion, once it's over and gone, is no longer motivating you to eat healthy foods, to get out there and exercise, to eat healthy portions, to watch the carbs, to watch the processed food, to be careful about that intake of sugar, all those healthy behaviors, because the event is past. Same if you're like, I want to lose this weight because I want a whole new wardrobe. Nothing wrong with that. It's fun, it's wonderful, it's awesome. But once you have the whole new wardrobe, game over. Kind of like the Biggest Loser show, right? People want to win that prize. I don't know what the prize is, cash, whatever it is, or a weight loss challenge at work, and there's a cash incentive. That's an external motivation. I'm gonna do these things until I get my money reward, then it's over, right? So an external reward is something outside of yourself, and it's helpful for short-term weight loss, but it's not so great for long-term weight loss because the events come and gone, right? So, weight loss requires ongoing motivation. So, you can use external motivators in the long run as long as you have some deeply committed internal motivation sustaining you. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So, external motivators, the prize, the reward, those things are good. Again, mostly for short term, nothing wrong with them. But the problem is that a lot of people fall into the trap of losing weight just for how they look. And when somebody does what that woman did last night, it tells me that I don't know if your health Your health and your quality of life may have been true and may be true, but when you get there, why isn't it enough? Because there's something else going on here. And is it all about how you look? Is it all about what other people are going to say about you? What is it about? Because something's wrong here. When you've attained the goal and it's not good enough, there's a problem. All right. So a lot of people fall into this short-term motivation, this external motivation thing, and then they're lost. The lights go out in the stadium, and then what? If you don't have something to dig deep into, you're kind of sunk unless you can continue to develop these external rewards. And a lot of times the problem is, and this is what I think happens for a lot of people, they get to that place where they're living healthy, they don't have medical problems, but it's not all they thought it was going to be. A lot of people think, well, I'm going to be happy and I'm going to be fulfilled and my relationships are going to be great and I'm going to be like, the princess living out the fairy tale. And they get there and they're like, life is just life. Some days I'm happy, some days I'm not happy. Some days I feel more confident, some days I don't. Because life is just life. You are no better a person at one weight than another. You may feel better and you may have better health for sure, and I'm all about that. But when you're at a healthy weight, when you don't have comorbidities, when you are being able to do the things you want to do, whether it's travel or walk or hike or jump out of an airplane, then if that's not enough, we got to go, okay, what's going on here? There are some inside issues that need to be fixed. So a lot of times that external reward isn't as great as you thought it was going to be. So outside of the weight loss arena, some examples of external rewards are getting a paycheck, right? We all work for a paycheck and we continue to go to work and do a decent enough job to earn the paycheck. So that's a consistent, continual external reward. If you want to get a good grade on a test, you study, study, study before the test and maybe get the grade and you're like, okay, I'm done studying until the next exam. So a grade might be a reward. It's an external, trinket or grade or something from the outside of you. Helping other people, not because you love to help other people, because you want the praise or you want to be able to put your volunteer work on a resume. So it's not because you love doing it. It's a means to an end. When it comes to losing weight, if you want to have weight loss surgery so you can post social media pictures and have everybody go ooh and ah, more power to you, do that, but it's not a good reason to have weight loss surgery, because once people are done oohing and eyeing over your befores and afters, then what? What's going to keep you motivated? Because the happiness from that is going to wane. After, if you post picture after picture after picture after picture after picture after picture after picture, people are going to start to go, enough already, right? 2 years later, we're still doing this. How many times do you want? How much need do you have? It's insatiable, maybe. Enjoy your pictures, enjoy your befores and afters. That's great and wonderful, but it's not going to sustain motivation forever in this process. All right. If you compete in a weight loss competition because you want a financial reward, that's great and wonderful, but that's external motivation. What's going to keep you going? So those kinds of things are good and great and wonderful. But again, once those things are over, you've got to have something more. And that's where we get to internal motivation. So internal motivation means I'm going to do the things that are required to do because I love what I get from it, internally, externally. But this is my life, and nobody's going to know how often I exercise or the kinds of food I eat all the time. I'm doing these things because I love being off all these medications. I love having a healthy blood pressure. I love no more diabetes. I love being able to get outside and go for a bike ride. I love being able to travel. I love this lifestyle. This healthy version of me, being able to do all of that, that's what motivates me. So I'm going to continue to do the gotta do ums. I'm going to continue to make healthy decisions. I'm going to continue to eat right. I'm going to continue to exercise, not because anybody's saying, woohoo, good for you, or because they're going to give me $1 after I'm finished working out, but because I do it because I love the outcome. I love the life I'm living. And if you do those things enough, you start to love them in and of themselves. I've been exercising since I was 14 years old. I started exercising. I would stay up with my dad and watch the 10 o'clock news, and I would just do floor calisthenics and, old fashioned things like jumping jacks and for those 30 minutes. And it just became a habit. It's what I did. And so now I continue to exercise at least 5 days a week. And I do it because it makes me feel healthy and normal, not because I want to get on social media and say, look at me exercising again. I do it because if I don't do it, I'm not my best self. I've come to love doing it so I get to feel healthy. And I love feeling healthy and being able to play with my grandkids. I played basketball for half an hour out in the driveway with two of my grandsons the other day, and my darn watch barely gave me any exercise credit. I was not happy about that. But it was no big deal to get out there and play basketball for 30 minutes. I'm 61 years old. I exercise daily, almost daily, so that I can continue to do those kinds of things. There's some external reward for that, but it's mostly because I like how I feel. I like that I feel motivated by myself to do these things because I like how I feel. So internal motivation comes from within. It's not on any external reward. You do the things because you enjoy doing them. You choose to do it. So you may not love exercise and you may never love exercise, but you may be internally motivated because it gives you the lifestyle you've been seeking. And before you know it, you may find an exercise and you just do it because you really enjoy it. Maybe you go roller skating and you do it not because you're going to get the check mark on your watch, but because you're really having fun. Or maybe you go outside and play basketball and you're not doing it only for the check mark on your watch, but because you're really having fun and engaged with those kids that you love. So it's because I enjoy my life that I do these things. So the goal comes from within and the outcomes of the goal. So, the outcomes of my exercise, my healthy eating, your exercise, your healthy eating, your healthy portion control, your whatever it is you've got to do, drinking the water, taking the vitamins, all those things. The outcome is you get to live your best life and feel like your best self. That's pretty impressive, right? That's internal motivation. You do the work, not so you have a six pack, but so that you can get outside and hang with kids. You do the exercise so you can travel comfortably and go places you've always wanted to go. Those are external motivation to a degree, but you do the daily grind. You do the daily grind at work so you get that paycheck, right? And maybe you start to enjoy what you're doing and you would do it even if you didn't get that paycheck, right? My hobby is doing this. I don't get paid to do this. I don't get paid to do talks to patients. I don't get paid to create classes. I do it because I absolutely love this material. I'm taking a class on my own right now. It's a 300-day class, not because I'm going to get anything from it. I paid for the class, but because I get this information and I am a junkie for information. You do your hobbies because you love whatever those are. So maybe in the process of this journey through your weight loss, you can learn to love nutrition. So you find out what is all this business about nutrition and you start investigating and you start loving that and you start learning about that and you find that you love that information. I got certified as a yoga teacher last year. And now all of a sudden I'm like all interested in the muscles and the anatomy. And so I'm taking an online anatomy class for God's sake. I'm also, check this out, have all these coloring books that are yoga anatomy coloring books. So I color in about the triceps and I learn where they're connected to your humerus and they all converge. Your 3 tricep muscles converge in your ulna and one's connected to your shoulder blade. And I'm like, wow, who knew? Now I find all that stuff interesting where I never really had any interest in it before. But I do all that stuff just because I want to know. What do you do because you just want to know? I would encourage you to start investigating things related to your weight loss journey, like positive motivation and changing your negative thinking and um, affirmations and the, what do you call those things? You can tell I'm not good with nutrition. Um, the micronutrients. Learn about those things, and you might just get really caught up in it and want to know it because this is your life. That's internal motivation, intrinsic, internal. So, some examples not related to weight loss might be people play sports or do things because they love the sport, or they garden because they love gardening, not because they're wanting to enter a prize for their wonderful tomatoes, but maybe staying longer at work and doing your job because you really love what you do and you're proud of the work you do and you want it to be your best job. But related to your weight loss, maybe you learn to use affirmations because they improve your attitude, and having an improved attitude can go a long way with getting yourself up out of a chair and going for a walk. Maybe you travel not so you can put stamps in your passport, but because you love different cultures and you want to learn about those things. Maybe you learn about personal development, which is my absolute favorite topic, and I take this 300-day class online because I want to improve myself. Maybe you study because you're curious about space travel or whatever it is you study about. So maybe get interested in nutrition. Maybe get interested in the body and you learn what kind of, muscle movements and joints and all that kind of good stuff to improve your quality of life. Maybe along and as part of your weight loss journey, you create a vision board because you want to see where you want to go. Maybe you help other people in their journey because you enjoy helping other people and it also helps you. So, internal motivation is always a good thing. And it's been researched that having internal motivation is absolutely a great predictor for long term weight maintenance. And that is the goal of having weight loss surgery, not just to lose the weight, but to keep it off. And internal motivation is going to give you a really great sense of self satisfaction, not just the oohing and on from the people in the stadium. So, people who are intrinsically motivated to lose weight really do find a lot of satisfaction from not just the physiological changes that they experience, but also the emotional and psychological health that they experience as they develop confidence, as they learn to set boundaries. Having an increased mood and a lot more energy really gives people a lot more freedom to explore things in their lives that maybe they just always thought about doing. It comes from being internally motivated to continue with the behavioral changes so that you can enjoy these things. So, internal motivation is always great. Now, combining the two may be even more beneficial. So, you can keep external motivation. Maybe you have a group that you work with and you're like, you know what? Everybody who maintains their weight this week, we're going to go and we're all going to buy, you know, a pair of shoes that cost $25 or something. It doesn't have to be money related. Don't make it be food related, but set some sort of a goal, whatever it might be creative. Maybe you'll all go bowling together, or maybe you'll go for a hike, or maybe you'll join a 5K, or maybe you'll, whatever you decide to do. Go through your closets and donate a bunch of old clothes to a charity or, a shelter. Do something good. But you can use external motivation as long as you're working on that internal motivation. Because if you don't work on that internal motivation, when the lights go out in the stadium, i.e., after the honeymoon period, after those first couple of years, when everybody quits oohing and eyeing and your weight plateaus like it will, like it should, what's going to keep you going forward? And that's where a lot of people run into trouble, and you know it's true. That 18 to 2.5 year mark, it's like, oh, check in with a therapist, check in with whomever you need to, and talk about this internal motivation. And I would do it way before then, because that day will come when the external motivation is going to quiet down and the lights go out in your stadium. And you better have developed some oomph of your own to follow through. So I would really encourage you, check into, read more about, look at some great, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 minute videos on YouTube about internal motivation. Go listen to some of them. Look it up on Google, see what you can find out about it, and figure out what your internal motivation. And I encourage you, please share this podcast with somebody. They don't have to have had weight loss surgery, but maybe they're working on something else in their life and they need to understand that internal motivation to follow through with anything is essential. So share this information with other people and maybe get together with somebody and sit down together and make a list of your external motivators and how to develop your internal motivators so that you have better odds of maintaining your weight loss. And that's what I have today. So we'll go on with this list next time. Again, I would really appreciate you sharing this information, and I appreciate you being here. Again, check out my website at www.conniestapletonphd.com. I have a retreat for women, 5-day retreat for 8 women beginning in June 2nd to June 6th, I believe. So check that out on my website or look it up at www.fairandfirmretreat.com. And I will see you next time. Make it a great day. And as always, it's your health. It's your responsibility this day and every day. Thanks for being with me.